Hello, friends. I am coming to you today from my office because summer has arrived and it is scorching outside. So I decided, you know what, we're gonna hang out inside where it's a little bit cooler. And I gotta share some really cool thoughts with you today. Okay, so I have a quote that I really want to share with you from the textbook that I'm using for one of my courses. I'm going to hold it up really quickly. It's called Successful Marriages and Families. Probably backwards for you. But what I want to talk to you today, talk about is the really hard times that we have in life and how those really hard times change us and change our relationships. So the quote I want to share with you on this book in page 237, it says, adversity such as illness or disability, death and bereavement, and other losses are unavoidable parts of earthly experience and may become spiritual crucibles with the potential to transform individuals and families. For some families, these life-altering experiences tear at relationships and drown family members in feelings of heartache, injustice, and bitterness. For others, these unexpected challenges serve as emotional crucibles that enhance relationships among family members, renew appreciation for significant aspects of life, and inspire faith in the wisdom and grace of God. These challenges and the complex relationship patterns that surround them become defining experiences in family life. This really spoke to me because when we first went into this pandemic, first of all, I watched on the news and I saw what was happening in China. And I was really aware of it. And one of the reasons for that is my business that I have been running for 2.5 years. I sell semi-precious gemstones and gemstone jewelry. And one thing that a lot of people don't know is a massive proportion of the gemstones that are sold in the United States come through China. So they're harvested and mined from all around the world. And then a lot of them are shipped to China for cutting, polishing, processing. And then they're shipped to the United States, where then they are distributed to different retailers and resellers. And that's how they get divvied up and shipped out. You can buy some specifically from one place or another. Like I go and get my turquoise from Kingman, Arizona, from the processing plant right at the foot of the mine. And, you can get, you can get specific opals straight from a country or straight from another place. But the bulk of our stones in this country come through China. And so I was keeping a really close eye on what was happening in the news and watching because I knew that my supply chain might be impacted. And then beyond that, I had pieces that I could only get from China. And it's not even just the stones, like some of my charms and stuff like that, because they can mine and process sterling silver for a lot better price in China than they can in the United States. Some of my stuff that I was even ordering from Canada was actually coming originally from China. So when my suppliers in Canada ran out, I had to look for new suppliers. I was looking at China, but everything was upside down because of COVID. So I was watching it all kind of play out through, January and then February, and I started to see my supply chains be impacted. And then in March, I was like, this is gonna be done. There's no way that I can keep moving forward, like I have been moving forward, or it would be unwise for me to try to force through this. With how difficult acquisition of materials was becoming, but then also with the fact that I have 5 children that are amazing. And I was already doing an online charter school with my older 2 ones. And to have the younger 3 ones, one of them with special needs, it's in an enclosed functional skills classroom for half of the day with resource and speech and everything. Have all 3 of my younger kids also home. So 5 kids all of a sudden are my responsibility. Plus I was taking 2 classes in college and trying to keep my business afloat. I just knew that something had to give, something had to go down. And so I knew that I needed to put my business on hold. And I'm super grateful for the relief. stimulus package that came from the government. Really grateful for that. Otherwise, we would not have been okay through this period, but I needed to prioritize my children and their education. So as we've moved through this, I've very prayerfully approached, very prayerfully, meditatively approached, okay, what am I supposed to be experiencing here? What am I supposed to be feeling? Because I knew this could either be an incredibly stressful time period. And that's what I was seeing a lot on social media. A lot of people were really angry that their kids were sent home from school. A lot of people were confused. They were frustrated. They were overwhelmed. People that had never done any sort of homeschooling or online schooling before were incredibly overwhelmed. I'm so lucky that or blessed that I already had that experience. And then the program that the school chose to use was the same platform that I do my college classes on. So a lot of blessings there. But as I just daily and sometimes almost every hour, every minute, simmered and meditated on what am I supposed to be getting out of this? What is my family supposed to be getting out of this? The answer that came to me came more in a rush of emotion than in words. And it was just this sheer profound gratitude for the opportunity of a lifetime to get to be quiet and to get to be still and to get to focus on just my family. Mental health issues are part of my story. They have been part of my story since I was a teenager, really. I was formally diagnosed with Hashimoto's that had been causing me anxiety and depression when I was 19. And then from there came a few other diagnoses, including PTSD and obsessive compulsive disorder. And so I tend to have a lot of social anxiety. I sometimes appear very gregarious and outgoing and extroverted, and that's when I'm doing well with my mental health. And when my mental health is when I'm not thriving mentally, when I'm in either a state of just trying to survive or when I'm rebuilding, I kind of go through these waves and phases where I go up and down. And I was definitely in a rebuilding phase this spring. And when I'm rebuilding, I have a lot more social anxiety. I feel a strong need to kind of protect myself from other people. And a lot of that is PTSD and trauma based because of really difficult experiences I've had either with people, in social circles or, in my religious community or just old trauma from childhood. And so I was in this rebuilding phase when we went into COVID. And I felt relief. I felt massive relief that there was no longer heavy expectations on me socially. But I felt guilty about that too. I really felt guilty about that because I do believe in being part of a community, being an active part of that community, about fulfilling community and religious obligations. Because when we all work together, that's when everybody gets served and loved and taken care of. But I didn't realize that my rebuilding had stalled. But then all of a sudden, when I didn't have to focus on those things so much, when I could do them from home, when I could visit with people from home, when I could still, serve other people from home, it's like my whole world changed. And I had to struggle with some guilt at first. I thank heavens I have an amazing therapist. And she really helped me process the guilt that I was experiencing from being so relieved and peaceful and happy that the pandemic was forcing everyone to stay in their own bubbles. But she really helped me work through that. So anyways, but as we went through this and as I was continually pondering on, okay, what's my role now? What do I need to be learning? What do I need to be focusing on with my family? My heart just has slowly turned over the last several months. And the focus has really been back on my family and Like this quote said, these life-altering experiences tear at relationships and drown family members in feelings of heartache, injustice, and bitterness. Or they can inspire faith and wisdom and the grace of God and bring you closer together. I'm so profoundly grateful that I was in the right place and where I needed to be to appreciate the situation. I'm also grateful that all of my family members are still well. And I know that that's not the case for everyone. I have some very dear friends who have either had it themselves, have had COVID-19 themselves, or have had family members. I have one friend that has had multiple family members pass away because of it. And it's a very difficult thing sometimes for me to feel so grateful that my family is thriving, that we're growing closer to God through this challenge, through this crucible. And they are suffering and struggling so much. And I know that the same goes for, families that suffered joblessness, and I had to stop running my business, but we've had resources come in, we've had things rebalance so that we've been fine financially. Like I said, the stimulus package helped a lot. But I know there are people that it hasn't been enough. And I know there are people that have had to make really hard choices between working and taking care of their kids, and they're scared and they're nervous and they don't know what they're going to do this school year. If for some reason school is shut down again, how are they going to manage their third grader and their first grader and working a full-time job while their husband works a full-time job? How is everything going to be juggled? Okay, so I think the biggest thing that really helped me stay positive and feel the joy in this time was perspective. Perspective is the way that you choose to look at something. And it can even be something really hard and really crappy like this stupid pandemic, like this mean virus. And the perspective that I chose to take, and I mentioned this in a previous video, was that the virus was the bad guy, that it was, DNA or RNA without a core, or with a core. It's just seriously it's something that isn't even alive. It just needs a host to get around. And that I was equipped and had the tools and the knowledge and the resources to care for my family. And if for some reason I didn't have them, that the Lord would provide them. I chose that mindset. And at many, 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 many times in my life, I would not have been able to choose a mindset like that. Like I said, mental health issues are part of my story. And I know how incredibly hard it is when you're struggling with depression or when you're struggling with anxiety to make a choice to view something from a positive frame of reference or a positive perspective. 100% can completely empathize with that. So what I want to talk to you about really here is, if you're not thriving, if you're in a survival phase or you're in a rebuilding phase, and you come across these kinds of situations, or you're in the one that we're in right now with the pandemic, what are things that you can do to create that positive perspective, both within yourself and in your family, to make sure that you do the best that you can, that you thrive if possible. And either way, everybody remains somewhat happy and you learn and grow and progress in some way or another. Okay, so the first thing that I want to recommend that you do to try to find some balance is to connect with other people. This has been interesting and fun for my kids and my family. We live about 90 miles away from our family. Our family all lives several counties to the south. And we chose to move to the country because we wanted a different lifestyle. And this is where homes were affordable for the size of home and land that we wanted. So we moved really quite far away from our family. And that makes it very, very difficult for us to keep in touch with them. And it's even worse during a pandemic, especially since there are some more high risk individuals outside of our home, a couple in our home, some outside of our home, and our family members. And then my mom and my brother work in retail. And so they're constantly exposed to crowds of people every day. So we've had to find ways and adaptations to make sure that we're still connecting, that we're not isolating, but we're still connecting with each other. One of our favorite ways has been the Marco Polo app. And we love sending Marco Polos to each other. I was going to show you on my phone, but my phone's plugged in and dead. I let my phone die. I don't know if you guys are like that. I always do that. Anyways, the Marco Polo app has been, I think, a lifesaver for our family. Also, we have a family Facebook group, so we can post things in there. A couple of weeks ago, I posted in the family Facebook group and I just said, hey, is anyone interested in a Roblox party with your kids this afternoon? These are my kids' names in case your kids haven't added them, because we had some of our families playing together, but not all of them. I'm one of 5. So I have 4 other siblings and all of them have children and families of their own except for one. And we were able to get all the grandkids on, all the cousins, so they could play with each other and interact. And they've been doing it multiple times since. And I'm hoping that we can keep that up this school year, since my kids won't have other kids to really interact with, since we will be doing online charter school. So we've had to get really creative with ways that we keep in touch with each other. A lot more phone calls, a lot more video chats, and we've really had to kind of step up our game with that. My daughter and I had the wonderful opportunity of attending our church's youth group, just our young women's group, for the first time last night in months since the pandemic started, so 4 months. And everybody wore masks. We did it outside. Everybody kept their space. Nobody touched each other. Everybody did that because we cared about each other and we love each other and we wanted everyone to feel safe and comfortable coming and being present. So finding resources, finding ways to connect with other people still, I think, is very, very, very important. I have a couple of friends that I call multiple times a week. They'll call me so we can be that support group for each other. Okay, the next thing that I recommend that you do is search for meaning. Like I told you before, that was what I was doing. I'm always looking for the meaning or what it is that I'm intended to learn from a situation or a circumstance. And by searching for the meaning and why we're experiencing something, that gives us a sense of purpose, a sense of direction, and it really takes the anxiety and frustration out of the situation. So what are some favorite ways that you like to search for meaning? If you want to put those in the comments below, I'd love to read them and respond to them. I personally love meditation 2 or 3 nights a week after the kids have gone to bed. My husband's doing his schoolwork. I will take the opportunity to spend an hour or 2 meditating and really processing the decisions I'm making, how I feel about them, how my Heavenly Father feels about them. Meditating is really just a prayerful inner monologue between myself and my heavenly parents, and just processing my experience and trying to get some clarity and some confirmation and some direction and get some answers and really find what it is that's going to be best for myself and my family and what I'm supposed to be learning. And then I often get a lot of clarity and definition on what it is that I've been experiencing or learning. So it's a really, really beautiful, wonderful practice. I also write a lot, whether I'm writing a blog or writing in a journal. I keep a massive amounts. My kids went through our family photo boxes the other day and they brought these up and they're like, Mom, you wrote in a journal? I was like, yeah, I was an avid journaler for a long time. And I still usually have 2 or 3 journals on hand that I'm working in, different ones for kind of different vibes or different topics. And I love searching through meaning through that process of writing and asking questions when I'm writing, and then meditating and praying on the questions that I'm asking and getting more enlightenment and truth. So the next principle that I want to teach you that's really important for finding your footing here is to be open to releasing the old world and embracing the new. And I think that's really important right now with the pandemic that we have going on. It's an important skill to learn and to grow, and it takes time and it takes experience. But let me tell you how I personally do this. I refer to this as heart turning. So when I'm faced up against something that causes some kickback or some challenge within me, when I come across a concept or a thought that I'm not happy with, that I'm not familiar with, that doesn't feel right, that doesn't feel natural, and it triggers an emotional response in me, I go through a process where I say a prayer, I communicate with God, I listen, and I ask, okay, can I discard this? Is this just not applicable, not right? Don't need to worry about it? Or do I need to be open to accepting this possibly at a future date if you choose to turn my heart? And that is, I have learned that I make less mistakes. Sorry, my phone ding. That I make less mistakes, that I make better decisions, that I'm more comfortable and confident with my decisions when I have that mindset. And when let me give you a really specific example. So it was the beginning of March when I saw things kind of getting a little bit hairy with COVID. And I started to wonder, hey, what's going to happen with school? And so then the second week in March, I went to the dollar store and I spent about $50 on homeschool little supplies. I bought little bins, bought some workbooks, bought a bunch of pencils, erasers, all that stuff, notebooks and little tablets for writing on and doodle paper. And I stocked up and I put together little like homeschooling kits for my younger 3 kids. And my bigger kids too, but they didn't really need them because they do their schooling online. But I did it for them too, so they didn't feel left out. I put together these kits for my children. And then it was just a couple days later that they announced that they were going to be doing a closure on schools. So I was like, okay, we're good. We're set up. I don't even have to go to the store and get stuff. We're ready to go. I got the packets from the kids' school the following week. They got them set up on Canvas. Actually, it was like the week after that. So we did my own homeschooling stuff that I'd already purchased and like figured out the following week. And then the next week was when they finally had our packets and our stuff for us and the Canvas logins and all that. So we got going with all of that. And it was probably a couple weeks after that that I started to get this impression that I was going to homeschool all of my children this upcoming school year. And my first response was, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I was so mad because I am like in my senior year of college. I'm in my senior year. I am so close to graduating. I'm a year away from grad school. Like, and as a mom, I have worked so hard to get to the place where all of my kids are first grade and up and can just go to public school. And I had made the decision to put them all in public school this next year, even my big kids. And I do not like the intermediate school in our area. But I was like, you know what? They're going to be fine. They're going to be just fine. I'm going to put everyone in public school. I have to get this year done. I have to get my senior year done. And then I can just do the part-time grad school program and everything's going to be fine. So seriously, when I got that impression, I flipped my lid a little bit. But I know better. I have learned better than to hear a warning, hear a message, and to shut it out. So I said, okay, I'll leave my heart open to this one. If you want to turn it, you can turn it, but I'm not turning it myself. And as we've gone through, as we went through doing their online schooling it was hard. It was really hard. My older kids, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. I mean, we already knew those curriculums. They had been using them for 2 years. Like, they knew what they were doing. That was great. But my 3 younger kids, I had how many different teachers? 5 different teachers, because one of my students has 3 teachers because he's special ed. So I had all of the different teachers using different platforms in different ways. And 2 of them were using Canvas, but they were using them in entirely different ways. And there was no extra support for my special ed student unless I specifically requested it. And so it was like, you know what? Like, let's do this. Let's get through this. Let's make this happen. And we went through it and we finished out the year. And by the end of the year, I was like, I'm done. Like, no, this was horrible. like, don't you think for one second I'm making the decision to homeschool my kids this fall because I just had the best time doing it. Doing this online learning through the school district. Nope. By the end, I was so burnt out. I was like, this is insane. And so, but then my heart kept turning and it kept softening and it kept coming and it was slowly coming and coming and coming. And it was probably middle of June when I just knew that I needed to bring them all home again this school year. And we just made the decision to go with the exact same online charter school that we'd already been using for 2 years with my older kids. Because I knew the curriculums, I knew the program. It was going to be so much easier than this distance learning online thing that tried to happen at the end of last year. Granted, the teachers did not see it coming. They did not see it coming. They were trying their best. But as a mom, I need simple, streamlined, known curriculums in a minimalistic fashion that I know how to use and that I know how to hold them accountable for and administrate their education. That's what I need as a parent. So we've jumped through those boxes. We've gotten there. We have set everybody up for this school year. We're really excited. Things are going to go really good. But it was that letting go of the old world, letting go of it, just releasing it and accepting the new, that it's a process. And I think if we allow it to happen gracefully, our hearts can be softened, and it's softened, and we can make that transition with as little pain and confusion and anxiety as possible. I'm going through that process again right now because I'm considering taking next semester off of school so that I can focus more on my children and their education. And if things are going really, really well, then I'll come back either part-time or full-time in the winter semester, so in January. But I have really determined that I am looking forward to embracing a new world. And even though there's a pandemic on, and even though I don't know how big of a likelihood that my immediate family, my parents, my cousins, my aunts, uncles, siblings, their children, nieces and nephews will get COVID in the next few months, and they could get very sick or they could pass away. I know that this is my new world and it's my choice. It's my choice where I place my frustrations or anger. It's my choice to choose to have joy and peace and love in my home and to share that peace and love and hope with other people, as well as the things I've learned. That's why I'm here, right? Actually, no, I'm here kind of because of a school assignment, but I decided to do this really rather complicated project because I knew that I had things to share from my experience. So those are the big tips that I have to share with you based on my life experience, also on my studies, that when you're up against these really, really gnarly, hard things happening, the best things that you can do are to connect with other people. You can find meaning, and that you can let go of the old world and embrace the new. And if you do that, I witness to you that you can find peace and happiness in these crucibles and these really, really trying times. So thanks for joining me. You got this.
Hey, if you like this video, go ahead and click subscribe. The project's almost over, but there's more to come afterwards.